it,
Surveyor?
How are you?
45 round or 9mm round or something.
Yeah, I think that's one of those.
We were just asking that question.
Didn't notify me that you would be here, so I don't expect you.
Where's Fulton?
Oh, wrong things.
Got 3 minutes, I guess.
Sitting in for Mr. Savage will be Mr. Steele.
I should text Leonella and be like, come look at my grass right now. You're gonna be so proud of me this one time.
Yeah.
It looks fantastic. I was telling my roommate yesterday, I was like, our grass is so green. He's like, that's what happens when you water it once.
No.
Well, I literally water it once a year.
Do you decide
Sometimes
see
twice.
now or after?
Sure.
No, I just don't see a point in wasting it on that grass.
Unless
As long as Leonella's happy, I'm happy. That's all that counts.
it's something I already know.
Keep it short. She gives me the evil don't look glance eye when she drives by if
This
it's
is
too
what-
long, and I get right to it. We have an
But
understanding.
if you
I knew
need
I would
to,
say
that's
that.
fine.
What is?
I appreciate your fall colors.
These are leaves. Yeah. Out of the camera.
I think
This is a paid one.
Yeah. I get
It was between the other two parties, they split up and made each other.
And this is affirming that whole thing is done.
Oh, this backwards. I confirm it.
Kids.
All right, I'm good with that. I didn't think you were.
Recess duty and all that.
Yes, it is.
We were just blessing it,
Blessing it.
that they, that they were.
Yes. We're
They're
You
giving,
know what I'm gonna next?
we're giving that
Wanna learn my so.
gubernatorial Jennifer.
If you'd like, I'll take it with me and get the postal size.
Oh, no. You could leave it in Italy or get a lot of space.
Time to switch to indoor.
Please mail this back to Syracuse City.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is 6 o'clock and I will call this work session for the Syracuse City Council to order. First item on our agenda is public comment. Do we have anybody here for public comment tonight? Then I will dispense with reading or going through why we have public comment and move on to planning item number 1, which is continued discussion, proposed amendment to Syracuse Municipal Code Section 6.10 relating to property maintenance regulations, continued from September 9th, 2025 City Council meeting. This really is your item, folks, so I'm not going to say anything more than where do you want to take it because you wanted more discussion.
Well, I wanted to see where we could eliminate potential overreach and get down to kind of really what we're asking for, what we're looking for. The parts that I still have, and I'm just reading what we had from last week, but maintenance, so it states that maintenance includes replacing dead or dying vegetation with the same or equal plant as originally installed. I think we need to rework that to give some options to similar, maybe not the exact same thing.
Does it say that? Same or equal?
Same or equal, yeah.
That doesn't really flow with the season.
Maintenance also includes mowing, watering, treating, I don't know what treating means. Fertilizing, edging, pruning, trimming, and or deadheading all grass, flowers, trees, shrubs, and or edges. I just think we need to get kind of what we're going for here. I think,
We're saying maintain your landscaping and,
yeah.
okay, if we can remove some of the specifics like fertilizer. I know you didn't like
Yeah,
that.
fertilizing, deadheading, all grass, I just think that's overstep. Trees and shrubs, keeping those maintained is fine. I think we need to maybe focus more on the safety element of keeping trees and shrubs trimmed so that they're not, impeding sidewalks or things like that.
You're asking them to meet code.
What was that?
You're asking them to meet code.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that what you're saying right now, the consideration that I would bring forward is that somebody could change what they have today. It doesn't have to be according to the original plan. As long as it looks professional and kept. I think that should be, there's a way to say that without,
Yeah,
because if somebody came in and said, well, I want to change my plantings to xeriscape, I think they should be allowed to. As long as it still looks nice and professional and.
I agree. I don't, I'm okay taking out a lot, some of these are a little overly specific, I'm good with that. But I do think there should be a minimum standard, it should even be higher than residences. I think
Well-
commercials is held to a higher standard.
And I think one of the things that we kind of talked about, one of the things was like. Not having exposed dirt or barrier or something, so having that type of stuff covered up. The one thing that I think is gonna be difficult, and maybe Noah can speak to this, is because we're essentially saying you have to maintain the property per the site plan. If Leonelle is going around and inspecting, I mean, she doesn't have, she's not gonna go around to every building and be like, all right, let me review this site
I got a
plan.
site plan in my pocket
It
here.
seems like it's really,
Just a reminder, and then she would be just looking to see if maintained.
well, yeah, but how
We
do you-
do keep a record of all the approved site plans. And usually it's like, if you go and there's like one of those baller things and it's ripped out and there's wires sticking out, like. We know that that was in the original site plan, so then we can say like, well, what happened to that thing? Why don't you maintain it?
So I'm okay. But the thing is, what I don't want Leonell to have to do is go back and have carry on site plans and check all those things, but. I'm okay if we want to mention something like that, but I do agree, we don't need to have fertilizing, edging. What's the difference between pruning and trimming? There's probably is something,
Trimming evens out, pruning cuts down.
okay. Deadheading how do you deadhead grass?
well, like
If
at
it
our
goes to
complex,
seed.
we have that tall decorative grass.
Okay, so
We
those
don't-
have to be chopped down,
We don't cut those down every year. It's
Okay.
pointless. And it costs money for no reason. And the grass still looks fine during the winter.
Okay, so I've got remove fertilizing, deadheading, edging, pruning, trimming. Any other changes?
I was gonna say, maybe for the site plan thing, I mean, I kind of said this in my email that I sent out before last meeting, but. Like, maybe wording like this, something like this, and maybe Colin has a better way of saying it, but like. An approved site plan should not be substantially changed without first obtaining approval of an amended site plan as provided in. The section, for the purpose of the section, substantially changed means alter the percentage of the lot landscape. Number or size of parking spaces or additional. Or additions or reductions in building size. Substantial changes does not include aesthetic items such as paint, awnings, or equivalent landscaping substitution. So putting something like that in says, hey, you're gonna substantially maintain the site plan. But if you make any like significant changes, yeah, you've got to resubmit. But if you're doing something cosmetically or making equivalent substitutions with landscaping, you shouldn't have to submit a new site plan. That's.
And I will point out that we have made changes to our ordinance recently to encourage water wise landscaping. We limit the amount of turf on new commercial site plans. We encourage native plants and things like that. And so if somebody wanted to convert that to our new ordinance, we're not gonna make them go through a site plan process, but there is a little bit of a judgment call of, because we have a process for a revised site plan. And at what point does it trigger that, you know, usually if it's changing the parking or like you were laying out, so we already do. Evaluate that when people are wanting to make changes to their
Yeah.
site.
Is there a way that you could simplify the approach to just must meet an approved or professional compliance standard, meaning, so that way you're not saying you have to maintain what was approved at the original time, but you, as long as it would still fit the ordinance, you could change it as long as it is compliant. That might simplify the whole
I actually
thing.
like that, just say it has to be a compliant landscape to our zoning laws.
Yeah, cause right now it says like. No element of an approved site plan shall be changed. Or modified without first obtaining approval of an amended site plan is provided, which is contrary to what Noah's saying we do anyway. So that's why I'm saying, like, we trim down some of these things that we don't even know what they mean, or that might be overstepping. And then allow some flexibility in alterations to a site plan without having to always do an amended site plan.
As long as it's compliant to existing laws.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Sure, I'm good with that.
I think,
that seems to be more broad reaching and easy to enforce, because that way, if future standards change, as long as it still maintains the standard, they're good.
The last part of the proposed ordinance has two options that we need your input on the fines. I don't wanna, if you guys are still discussing the other part, that's fine, but
Well, I do want to make sure that architectural elements are maintained. I see several of our buildings that have eaves that are drooping or things like that. And it's like, come on, guys. So I do think that we should leave all of that in there. So it sounds like you're okay with that. But like I said, all we're asking is if it's in next year's budget or you're gonna do it next year, I'm good with that. So instead of saying us fine, I do think it's okay, or present a plan for when it will be
what's a
accomplished.
drifting, what do you mean drifting leaves?
Awnings,
Like the awnings and things like that.
Oh, like an
the-
awning,
The metals coming down or something like that.
Cause that would,
I always call them the eaves, the metal on the eaves.
the, like the
Over.
soffit underneath.
Soffit,
Yeah.
thank
The
you.
trim, yeah.
So like, for me, that would be a safety hazard, which.
I don't think it's a safety hazard.
Until it hits you in the
It
head.
potentially falls down, yeah.
Okay, but still, I don't want it to be limited to safety. As long as it's drooping in a safe manner, then we're saying it's okay.
safe drooping.
Or at least allow for some of those maintenance items to be
Again,
on a scheduled, but in
I'm
place,
okay if they can
whatever.
present a plan.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
I just think we need language in there that allows for it then.
Peace.
If we're
Love
gonna,
it.
if we're gonna allow for a plan, then we need language in that to allow for that.
I agree. So fines can be dismissed as long as an approved plan is put forth. But I do think it will require some type of a timeline and a potential reinspect.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think we're gonna say, sorry, you need to remodel your entire building this week because all of your siding is falling off.
I can understand where you're coming with this, Paul. I really can't, because if someone tells me I can't change my bushes outside,
No,
I'm pretty ticked off.
I totally agree with that. I think we have to have some flexibility that it has to be a compliant landscape to what the ordinance is. And we have to give them an option to create a plan to fix it, because some of this does get expensive, but we do expect things to be maintained.
Yes, a plan and a schedule.
Yes.
So
plan and schedule.
does that provide enough feedback to try and rework that section, whoever's
Mhm.
reworking it?
Thanks, Noah, for
Yeah.
listening to us.
For
Let's talk about the next part.
For the fines, did you guys want anything over 500 to come to you guys, or did you still want to put a maximum amount of fines on there?
I would be okay with a max fine of like what we've got option 2, which is not to exceed 2,000. Cause then it doesn't have to come to us for everything. That's gonna be not very effective, I think.
I think you raised that point, didn't
I
you,
did.
Colin? Yeah.
I
and-
prefer
and
it did not come to you.
Right,
Yes.
yeah, which makes sense.
You guys are busy.
Are there any other questions you have in order to prepare? or
Come
to-
back
Yeah,
with some revised language to
Do
the
you think
voting or
we're-
to the work group.
well, to the voting, if we think that we're there, is there is there something in particular you think you need to see that we couldn't discuss and revise in the meeting?
I think we could get it there, but yeah,
Okay,
there might be a little.
all right, so it'll be on the next voting meeting, and staff will go ahead and take care of this. Thank you. Now we're gonna move on to items D. Number 1 is discussion of budget status for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025. We tried to make these updates. And I think that there was some really good information provided here. Steve, I'll turn the time over to you.
Yeah, I wanted to try and keep this simple enough that it was easy to go through. Obviously, we could turn this into a very complex discussion, but I just want to give a quick overview of where we think we're gonna land for fiscal year 25, which is, we're talking from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. We're still actively working on our audit. You'll see that audit report in December. But initial numbers are showing that we're actually came in ahead of what we had budgeted. So if you remember, we budgeted just over $1 million in deficit. We're projected to come in at 350,000 in the deficit. So still not a balanced solution, but we shrunk that deficit about 744,000.
Where was that made up?
So in our fund balance, in that next bullet point, we have our general fund reserve. It's our rainy day fund. Statutorily, we have to be between 5 and 35% of our revenues. At June 30th, 2024, we were actually a little bit above that at 37.2%, just over $10 million. That $350,000 equates to about 1.25% reduction in that fund balance. The bigger piece of that fund balance reduction, I'm anticipating about $8.5 million at the end of this fiscal year that we just ended. The bigger drawdown was for our Class C road funds. So incorporated in that fund balance, it is a rainy day fund, but there are some assigned balances for different things. 3.1 million of that was held for Class C roads. We actually spent that down to 1.2 million. So that was about a 7% decrease. So we're landing about 30.7% in our fund balance reserve.
It's just roads we didn't fix.
This is just money that we had that we have them scheduled on our 5-year plan. We just hadn't got to them. This is the year we got a lot of that work done. So this is all built into our 5-year plan. What I'm saying is even after that drawdown from 3.1 to 1.2, it was a 7% decrease. We still have $1.2 million sitting there for money assigned to Class C roads. It's part of our
And
5-year
assigned to projects specific in our,
Correct.
that we
Yes.
voted on and we keep voting on.
plan. Correct.
That
So-
3.1 was a one-time dip, is that right?
Yes.
So we don't expect that to happen again?
No, yeah, and if you took out the 1.2 million and said we're gonna spend that all in Class C, which we should, that's another probably 4 or 5%. Our rainy day is roughly around 25-26%. We're still well above our fund balance policy. So our fund balance policy is an internal policy that says we want at least 2 months of reserve, or 16.7% is our absolute minimum we would want to go before we're running into a conflict with our fund balance. There are call outs in our fund balance policy that says we can go below that. Those are for recession, emergencies, things like that. But we definitely want to keep it above 16.7. And what I'm showing here is we're at 30%. End of fiscal year 2025.
By way of context, I'll throw in this, that when I remember that the legislature changed this threshold right before I joined the council, because I was attending meetings and listening. And I think it was below 30%. I think it was around 28.
It was 20, yeah.
28 or so. And that was the max you could hold. And we were reviewing, I remember 2 years in a row, we reviewed, and I was not my council, but was reviewed what to do with the stuff when we went over that 28%. So what I'm suggesting here is the fact that we're at 30%, we're not at a risk. We're actually in a very healthy position. And yes, we could have a little bit more in our rainy day, and I think we'll get back to that. But this, I think, when we projected $1 million, we knew that there was going to be some makeup there, and I think it's amazing that our deficit was only 350 or so thousand. So
I asked earlier where that makeup came from. Do you know, roughly?
Oh, the savings?
Yeah.
Are you talking?
Mhm.
The main ones are, we had some budgeted positions with our fire department that we didn't fill until close to the end of the fiscal year. I think it was 3 capital positions.
We had to wait for the new station to come online.
And historically, our departments have been very good about underspending their budget, anywhere from 2 to 5%. That's been historical over the entire time I've been here.
So that was fire money that wasn't used.
Yeah, we had budgeted it for a full year, and when we finally brought them on, we only recognized one month of expense. So There's a lot of other things that happened in there and
Court reporter position.
what's that?
Elimination of the court reporter position that
Yeah.
was separate from the.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that go into this, and like I said, I could have gone through a fine tooth comb, and I'm more than willing to do that with council of, counts where they ended up. Our sales tax was 6.6% growth over the prior year. I think we budgeted about the 6.5 to 7%, so it came in right where we expected. We had some other revenues that came in a little bit lower. We had some that came in higher, but overall, our revenues came in about where we projected, and then we had some savings on the expense side.
I think this is pretty typical and what we expected and what we have seen in years past. I don't think this is out of the ordinary. These kind of things are pretty typical.
I do have one other question. It looked like in fiscal 2024, we were at 10 million. 2025, it had dropped $1.5 million to 8.5. Am I reading that right?
Yes.
And if I look down in the packet at the next item under general fund, it says that the estimated ending fund balances on page 14 is 5.9.
Yeah.
Is that
So
from the general fund?
there's two different things going on here. When we talk about a fund balance for general fund, it actually includes, I think, 8 or so different funds combined. So when I'm talking on our financial statement, the 30%, the 8.5 million, that includes our RAP tax fund, our Class C road fund. So it's a lot of those combined. When you look at the budget opening, that general fund is one of 7 or 8 funds that we're combining. It includes the park maintenance, it includes Class C, it includes RAP tax. So there's quite a few funds that roll in to our financial statement when we're talking fund balance.
So and again, you know this much better than I do. If we're looking at tax year concluding 2025 at 8.5, and looks like estimated at 2026 at 5.9, are those equivalent numbers?
They are not. So the 5.9 is a piece of the 8.5. There are other funds that roll into that number, so it's a good portion of it, but it's not the entirety of what we report on our financial statement.
So that number for 2026 would be higher than 5.9?
Correct. Yes.
So this is more awareness. This is not an action item. Is everybody okay with where we're at today? I think it's a pretty responsible report and position for the city. Okay, seeing no further questions, I'm going to move us on to discussion of proposed budget amendment for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2026.
There's a lot going on here. The majority of it is carryover of capital projects. We budget based on fiscal year. Capital projects seem to carry over because we bid them out in the spring and they tend to go longer than the season. So the majority of these in the red are just carryover projects. We talked before about the realignment with the 3000 West water line. That shows there as a new item. On the second page, there's a few that show revised. So we've done some, that was part of pulling some money back and reallocating into the 3000 West. But for the most part, this is just carryover of budgeted items we already had in our 5-year plan. In addition to that, we did not receive the VAWA grant. This is similar to our VOCA. It would have been an add-on, a part-time position. We did not get that, so we're removing the revenue and expense for that. We did sell the stage. We are budgeting or requesting budget for rental of the stage going forward. And then you can see on all the other funds, there's just some miscellaneous items through there. I think we've talked about most of them. The purchase of the dump truck we talked about. And again, some of these are just carryover. We talked about the roundabout, the 3000 West. This is putting the budget in for actual construction of that.
What's with his land purchases? How are these not done yet? You already have the reservoir built, for example, for the reservoir.
Yeah.
And the BMX park is very much done.
Because they're UDOT.
We were
UDOT can really drag
Ready
things
to
out.
pay.
We were at the
Really?
finish line, and then we found out they actually give us free land for parks and roads. So we put a pause and said, let's go back.
Pull that out.
They had to redo the studies, redo all the property parcel information. That took them now 3 months. I'm hoping we can get them to finish line by the October 14th meeting.
You're saying these might just go away because they're
It-
for parks and.
No, it will,
Percentage of
it will greatly reduce. And the numbers I put in here, and what I'm expecting us to actually spend. For example, the BMX, I believe we budgeted 1.6 million or 1.
Instead of 1.06.
Instead of the 1 million. So I think we're gonna see a savings of $600,000 or $700,000 in land cost.
And same thing for the.
The
Syracuse
reservoir, yeah, there should be at least that one's not gonna be as much, but there should be a carve out for a road access or a public road through there. And
I just
so-
know that infrastructure is in and done, and so. you know,
Yeah.
At this point, it doesn't go through, we have a problem.
Yeah, we're pushing, and they're well aware, and I'm hopeful it will happen by the October 14th meeting.
I mean,
What
we've
is
been
the
over a
regional
year.
park engineering and construction oversight?
So that goes hand in hand with the construction. So anytime we have a big project, we usually have engineering oversight, construction oversight. It's like the Galloways of the world that we did for our Station 32. There are design / construction oversights to make sure that things are built properly.
Everything else seems to be.
Yeah, Steve sends probably a weekly email to the office at UDOT for an update. Where's that? Where's it at?
It has been over a year that we have been working with them trying to get that resolved, and the good news is that it's getting better for us as we progress through the process, not worse.
Does any of this that you have listed there impact the projected deficit for 2026?
A couple of them made it better.
Yeah, I think
It actually in the general fund basically washed. It was about $442 net change from
What about the rest of these items?
So wrap tax and most of that's carryover projects. We have a 5-year plan on that. Park impact, same thing. That one we do have a projected deficit, but we are holding the money from the sale of the cemetery land to cover that deficit until we can sell property by the Arts Academy on 3000 West.
Does the deficit get worse or better?
Park impact was budgeted, I think, close to 5 million, but with those savings from the BMX, potential savings from the BMX purchase, that has been reduced.
I think he's asking for the general fund.
I'm asking, yeah, I mean, at
For
the
every
end of
account?
the day, does this help
Or-
us or hurt us?
Because of the budgeted deficit.
Right.
I'm not, yeah, for general fund, I'm not showing a big change. It's minimal. We did budget the $500,000 and I did put that in my note. It was $523,000 deficit. If we didn't have any savings, that would be about a 1.9% reduction in our fund balance. Over the 14 years I've been here, I think we've had a surplus every year, anywhere from $500,000 clear up to $1 million. Not saying that past doesn't necessarily predict future, but I think our department heads do a great job in being frugal and spending money where they only need to and not spending every dollar in budgets. I think that goes a long way in building that surplus each year.
And your utility funds that are not negative, but are lean, maybe anemic, is your storm. And
Yeah, there's a few funds that are struggling. Storm is one of them. Secondary is another one. Yeah, we've maximized what we can with our 5-year plan to the point where we're sitting on the line of where I'm comfortable drawing money down any further.
any other questions?
I have lots of questions, but not tonight.
Okay, then I will move us on from that item. To item E, discussion regarding possible amendments to the Syracuse Municipal Code pertaining to availability of cemetery plots. Presta, would you join us?
Want to?
You're supposed to say, I'm dying.
Yeah, no, I'm not, because I can't buy a plot.
You could, you're dead.
If I'm dead, I can.
Well, you can't buy it. You can buy
Let's
it.
not jump the gun.
Okay, so tell us where we're at, Preston.
Okay, did you guys all read this? Do you need me to go over it? We're limited in plots, obviously. We really are only down, it was 4 when I set this out, we're down to 2 plots that are right next to each other.
Sold.
You
gotta be-
better get over there tomorrow. We actually did, somebody called in today that was a non-resident, we're like, no, just because we want to take care of our own residents, obviously, first. But that's what,
Consider race.
yeah, that's what other cities have been doing is this, and so people will come here to get,
How are we reclaiming 80 plots?
go ahead, you can,
So there are approximately 80, I thought it was only 65, but apparently the
Yeah.
number has grown.
yeah, it's grown.
Plots that were purchased years and years and years ago, like 50, 60 years ago, and have never been used. Remember, we made a change to our ordinance earlier this year that said for those old plots, we will comply with the state law, and there's a process in the state statutes that allows us to give notice and then go back and take them back if no one claims them again. So we are going to start that process in November, and we'll see how many of those 80-ish plots we can get back into our inventory.
And they're up in the A, B, C section, like the older section of the cemetery. Well, we're gonna make sure to go through and check and make sure that nobody is buried.
Double booking.
That we're not doing any double bookings. So that we're in the process of doing all that, and Colin, of course, is helping get that ready. So if we have that, then hopefully we'll have some plots back together.
It's horrible at a nail lady, let alone a cemetery.
So we're just recommending.
Cremated, you can go right on.
Sorry,
You
we're not children.
You can, but we're recommending that at this point, until we get the expansion, even when we get those 80 back, that we only sell to residents. Who are our residents and who have somebody that's passed away. Several cemeteries around us do
Yeah,
that.
it seems to be the going thing,
That's a good idea.
and so I think it makes sense for us to fall in line with that while we have a shortage. I mean, we're not in the business of trying to sell out the cemetery. We're,
Oh.
We could look into like the tree pod things, like we could litter our cemetery with more trees that have people under it.
Well,
you
in
know?
our expansion, we have the crematorium, which I think will be useful because a lot of people
Yeah.
are going that direction. The thing with trees is roots, and even if you're buried, they go into, they make damage. That's why we don't have a lot of trees up there. But yeah, it's hard because there's only one plot, so I think that we're not gonna get a lot of our residents to be happy because they can only buy 1 plot at a time right now, or they could buy 5 plots if they're, but they're all.
The divorce rate
each
is
other.
through the roof. I think we'll be up.
But you can, like Julie said, you can bury a casket and then have somebody cremated on top, so you can do those things too.
And when I said we were gonna start in November, we've actually started
Yeah.
this summer. We've done a lot of the identification, who owns the plots, who are the relatives of surviving relatives. So all of that work is done. We'll be sending out the notices in November.
Then once we get that back, we
But
can.
the flags don't turn on top of it.
But it is just another push that if we're gonna do either get rid of the cemetery or, do an expansion.
and we do have a planned
I
expansion.
can't remember when our planned expansion is for.
Well, our planned expansion this
So
year,
when it's for, or when it's for?
When?
yeah, when is when we can afford it. Because we had a choice between Regional Park Phase 1 and cemetery expansion. We could afford one, but not both. So hopefully, when we sell the property that's over across from the Arts Academy, calling the Hot Triangle because it's got a lot of hot interest.
Yeah.
So if we get that completed, we will be able to fund this.
We have it on our plan as 2027, and we also have already designed it. That
Yeah.
engineering and designing is already done.
So
It's just going to be.
It's really shovel ready, it's just not fund ready.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're good with that, that will become
Backhoe ready.
an item for vote on the next meeting. Is that does not require anything special like a hearing, so can we put that on consent, or would you like to review it again?
consent's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, we will make that a consent item.
That is that ordinance change, right?
It
Yes.
is. Okay, so item F, proposed legal defender agreement for the Syracuse City Justice Court. Colin.
So apparently for years and years and years, the Murphy and Murphy Law Firm, currently located, I think, in Kaysville, has been providing public defender services for the Syracuse Justice Court. Last year in 2024, they came in and they said, we've only been getting $90 per case forever. And we'd like a raise. We had the money to give them a raise, and so we built a stepped up thing for them. While we attempted to find the existing written contract, which apparently either no one knows where it is or it never existed in the first place.
They don't have a copy of it either?
They don't have a copy. We don't have a copy. To our knowledge, nobody has a copy. I'm not sure there ever was
The
one.
law firm of all things.
I know.
I know.
It's not a
Well,
lost
It's
contract.
Murphy Law.
Well, at any rate, you have before you a proposed contract that proposes to start on July 1st of this year with this fiscal year. And go for the next 2 fiscal years as well. At the end of that time, we would rebid the services. Maybe they'll get the contract again, maybe they won't, and we'll just see where we go. But we figured better to have a written contract and to know how much it's gonna cost us for the next couple of years than continue to wallow in darkness.
Sounds like a plan you can actually.
Fix the good old boy system.
This seems pretty straightforward. Does anybody got an issue with that? Okay, as this is a contract that involves money, can it go on consent?
I
think
don't
it
know the answer.
can, but usually money has to not.
Is there a budget item? Do we have a budget
budget
for, would you have to change the budget
We
because of
don't.
this?
We do not,
Then I don't
so,
think you do.
but it does involve a price, so, okay. We'll find out. If it can go on consent, are you okay with it being on consent?
Yes.
Okay, so we will find out. All right, next is a discussion regarding opportunities to increase public involvement and volunteerism in the city. For sponsored community service projects. Krista, would you join us?
Sure.
Again, this is an item that comes up because we've had a few people reach out to not just myself, but several other people and say, hey, I heard about this somewhere else. Why don't we have one? All I'm concerned about is what can we do that would make it either more awareness to what we do, because there is volunteer hours happening every month and it's on the manager's report. It's not like this is a non-existent thing, but we haven't had really public projects like some of the ones that you see where they advertise for a month and they get 100 people to come out. So this is just discussion. What can we do to get better press or involvement out of this? Because I do think it generates community spirit and pride.
So we used to have a community cleanup day in May.
Well, we just used to have just a day of service,
Right.
but it usually ended up as staff and like 3 or 4 people. So it wasn't really a
Okay.
community. I think the biggest thing is if we're gonna do something, we plan it out well in advance. So a lot of time it happens, it's coming up and we're like, oh, in August and saying, here this is. And it's gotta be something, obviously budgeted for, because if you're gonna do anything big, you gotta have a budget for it. We can't just assume that we can just kind of throw things together rather quickly. So I think that the ideas have to come early, probably, obviously, the first of the year and when we're putting our budget together, and then you can like start advertising.
So I have a question. If it's the community out that has been asking about this, why wouldn't we poll the community to see what type of service they'd like to be interested in?
I saw about 30 people say trees at Rock Creek Park.
And
I've
we
seen
know
that.
that we've had this and we've planted trees there numerous times. And I'm actually meeting with Andrea Brown and John Taylor tomorrow to discuss whether we put trees there or somewhere else. We're always willing to talk and to do it, but Rock Creek is not, the trees do not live. We had a community service project that came and put 8 trees up on the berm. They're all dead and they've all been removed. It's happened numerous times. It's the salt in there and it's not viable for the trees, and we don't have drip lines to the trees. There's a lot that goes into it to grow trees, and that's why. And I think people don't realize that we have done that. But we have, and we'll have a discussion with them tomorrow and see if there's other places. But if I could be candid with you guys, it's not that we don't, and every department doesn't want to do a lot of community service, but you have to realize that takes staff time and a lot of staff time. It takes money, it takes coordination. And so when these great ideas come up, you just have to realize that when you have a staff that feels like they're already drowning, to add something else on top of them to do it is big. It's a big,
And volunteers don't show up as much as the outpour of them prior to the event. You get a lot of support prior to an event for, oh, we'll help, we'll volunteer, and then you get very few people actually showing up to help.
but I think with what the mayor's saying is if we're gonna do it like in September, like they do, because the people that are saying, oh, West Point did that, it's because it was that 9/11. And it was because stakes and wards and
Yeah.
groups put together, that's when they're gonna show up.
That's-
So if that's a goal that we wanna do and we wanna make sure that we can do it in September, if we plan in advance, have a good idea to come forward. A budget or something that we're gonna do to help raise money for it, then I think that we can do a big event like that. People will come out because, you know, stakes and wards are gonna get involved in that and come out.
Yeah, I think like the consistency of having it the same day every year is a good idea. That way people, and obviously we can advertise for it on social media and things regularly. I think the consistency would be better.
I think that if we're gonna be successful at doing something like this, one of the things that we're gonna have to do is not only be really in advance, but I think we're all gonna have to kind of teamwork the support and go around the different groups and you know, and all promote it as if this is a citywide thing. And that's gonna take a lot of effort from everybody, but I think that we can.
You need to do it on the weekend adjacent, because if you do it on a work day, then you'll have less of a turnout.
Sure,
Most people don't get September 11th off.
Yeah, and it's a.
I agree.
yeah.
Well, I don't
So-
think that the way they've been doing it, it's not on
It's
September
not on
11th.
September.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest from
Jason.
our department, it's hard in September because we lose all of our seasonals pretty much in August.
Hmm.
So it's tough to do, and I think that's why there's never been like a big push to make sure, but I guess like the mayor has said before, it doesn't have to be just one department. It can be a citywide thing.
And now they do the 9/11 day of service as a throughout the month. So they do it the weekend before and after, and some projects even are ongoing for a couple of weeks. It just depends on the organization, and we could support some of those, or we could, or whatever, but I think that the point is we'd like to get a little bit of feeling that something is happening in our city, because a lot of these projects are kind of like region wide.
Yeah, what we did this year was essentially that we were promoters of the projects that were already happening in the city. So there were stakes doing, you know, day of service, companies putting together a day of service, and they're all happening here in Syracuse. And our role that we did this year without, you know, having a project that we wanted to do. We were a promoter of all of those.
Right.
How can.
And I think that what I'm suggesting is we either need to decide that we're either going to be in on try and get the press for it, or that we're just gonna continue along that path, but it needs to be a conscious effort, because when we get people that reach out and say, why is it that we don't do this? Well, we either, it's a conscious decision and we respond that way, or we say, well, we promote this one instead, because this is what we actually have success with.
Yeah, there are opportunities in Syracuse to do service project on 9/11 week. And we can have our own, or we can promote the ones that are happening.
So this is a you know, discussion for, you know, what can you bring to the table, council, as far as to make improvements, or what are you interested in to make improvements here? If any.
I think that one way that we could advertise is to, we can't do it, but you know, to bring back the newsletter, that people newsletter is probably a good way to inform people of what's going on. A lot of people aren't looking at their, but we don't have a.
I was just gonna say, I didn't see any of that online.
And if it's just a matter of just informing the community what's happening, we do that in that online, and you know, thank the volunteers for stuffing the eggs and thank them for carving the pumpkins and things like that. I think if it's just every month, we can, is it monthly? Probably not, but.
The newsletter that Kara puts together, yeah.
That's
the
monthly,
digital.
but I mean, we're not seeing a volunteer project every month, but
We see volunteers almost every month, but we get some that's court mandated,
small.
you know, some are small, some are larger. We had people that planted trees over the pickleball courts. We have kids coming in and pulling weeds and.
Maybe it's.
See, I don't feel like court mandated is volunteer.
I was gonna say, that's volunteer.
That's voluntold, yeah, that's,
But
do
it's-
it or I'm not signing
But
your
it's,
stuff.
but it still is helpful.
So if,
I
To make them do weeds.
so if we're reporting that in our newsletter online, and we're people can't,
Matt's form.
I don't know, you said that they're comparing us to other cities.
Yeah, so like this year, West Point did a really big tree planting project as part of their 9/11. And I had some people who are here saying, why is it I can go plant trees there? We need trees here. And I said, well, you're right, we do need trees. And we've actually had some very successful tree planting projects, but the trees died. And we're trying to figure out how we can get trees in those locations. Because yeah, everybody wants trees at Rock Creek Park, but we've not been able to find a way to make them live at Rock Creek Park. And I know that Tuscany had a lot of tree die during the drought, because we had a couple of years there where we had some good growth and it was nice to have those trees, but they all died during drought. So,
And you have to have staff there, because that's one of the ones we had that was planted wrong, and we had to come back and replant all of them.
The unfortunate thing, the only kind of tree that grows in trash ground is a trash tree. So like your poplars or your corkscrew willows or things like that, that just constantly litter off of themselves. So you gotta continuously clean up.
Yeah. and those
one
are
thing that I
good
think was successful that I heard feedback was that, because I mentioned to one of the people who called me, I said, well, sometimes we struggle to get things done in a way that the trees will live. And they said, well, actually at the West Point one, they said they started with like a 10-minute, here's how you have to do the tree planting so that it will live. We'll see if that was effective, because we'll see over the years if all those trees live or die. But we could do that, something like that, where we say, okay, you know, volunteers, every 10 minutes, we're gonna go through this is how you do it, or, you know, or just dragging, shoveling dirt, I don't know. But the point is that we're, you know, there are ways to get people up to par.
And what is the cost of that in the long run? How much does it cost to pull those dead trees out? How much manpower does it cost to pull those dead trees out if they weren't done right? And what's the point of doing something if it's not done right? It's gonna die anyway.
We're not saying planting trees is the event, it's just
And it could be
It
picking
was
up
just an
litter.
example.
pulling
They don't enjoy picking up litter and weeds. We do that.
That's
and
court
then they'll-
mandated.
they want.
Yeah, nobody,
Send the court mandated ones.
We always have people
They need crappy.
do that and ask them do that, and then they're like, nah, we don't wanna do that.
They want to do something live, not dead.
Yeah.
Are you staffed where you can provide adequate time to deal with this?
No,
That's.
Yeah, mine too.
if we have enough time planned, but what I'm saying is that it does take time. So if you're saying that you're gonna want somebody staff there watching every tree get planted, no, we're not. Or, you know, it does take, well, anytime you do community service, whether it's for our department or any other, there's gonna be staff related to it, because they're not gonna come and dig the holes. You can't do that. We're gonna have to dig the holes, or we're gonna have
Big
to
mess.
remove stuff so that you can put mulch in. There's going to be staffing at that time. So it does add a layer. It's not saying that we can't do it, but it does add more stress to the staff.
The thought that community service is actually free it's not. It's not.
Pulling weeds and picking up garbage is.
Yes, pulling
And
weeds
we,
and picking up.
but
garbage.
They don't
they
like
don't,
that.
it's not one that wants to
Besides the bad.
do it.
Yes.
And the whirly lights on the.
Well, if we do that, if we promote a weed pulling and trash pickup event, we still get the press, but nobody shows up. We don't have to oversee it.
We'd have to ask.
Because press is that
We did do
Press is
that.
that board.
We did do that last year. That was our thing along West Davis corridor.
yeah, and
they-
they didn't have a big crowd.
Yeah, they
It
had
was
like
very
50
appealing.
people that,
Exactly.
and so the people that showed up was mad because they had to do a lot of the work, I feel like, but they might have enjoyed it. It was not fun for them, I don't think, but.
But I do
they
think
did do
that,
it.
you know, one of the things that I'd like to get out of this discussion is if we see an opportunity where many hands make light work type situation, because we've had people come in and say, hey, here's an area that I'm not happy with. And I say, well, then what would you propose we do to fix this? Because it takes manpower and money. And there are people who've said, for example, one of the example product or projects that we have not tackled is people said, what if we did some kind of landscaping under the freeway overpasses? Because that is something that we have to do sometime. It's just some dirt. So now it would require funding, so we'd have to figure out how to put that in. And if it's not in our budget, I'm not sure that we're in a position to pull that forward.
Well,
But if you get a lot of people saying, I'm willing to put in the labor, maybe you get some benefit, maybe you don't.
well, I mean, you list,
Flowers and roundabouts.
So they can get driven over?
well, what
Over
if,
zero scale.
I mean, we listed a couple of things that we're already doing. I
Yeah.
mean, are there events that we're already having, that we already have staff that we can couple with community service? That's we're already doing and saying, hey, if you wanna do community service, we could use help with these things that we're already doing.
Yeah, we do that now, like the pumpkin walk, we have a group that's coming in and gonna help put out pumpkins the Wednesday night before, where like myself and Leslie are usually there just.
Can like anybody sign up to do that?
Yeah. and
Maybe
they
we
can
just
call-
need to
And they can call in and we. can,
promote those things that
Okay.
we're doing a little bit better if there's not
a
staff
good
to add
idea.
additional.
Volunteers for the Easter egg hunt.
We have, I mean, we couldn't, honestly, we couldn't do the events we do without our volunteers.
Yeah,
They stuff the eggs, they carve the pumpkins, they help set out the pumpkins. There's a lot that
Yeah,
that we do. And I also think, like, to the mayor's point, like, if there's a project that we're doing, Chad had a great idea for, Country Grove, and redoing that, but we didn't get any volunteers to come out and do it. But if we know that we're gonna do that
Right.
and we can put it out in enough time, then that's saving us, because we were already gonna do it anyways, and then it's more hands. So I think that we could look at
I think that.
at things like that, where we're already, projects we're already planning on doing.
yeah.
Making the community aware that we have projects, these are what they are.
Okay. This doesn't have to be solved tonight, but I think that we had extra time tonight. I thought it was worth discussion. Appreciate your input. The next is, we're gonna discuss the purpose of mayor council announcements and the agenda item listed for council business. This actually happened right before I took office. They said, well, we're not getting reports on the specific assignments of council. And some of these have significant reports that do need to be made. I can appreciate that some of them happen in email, and that's the appropriate thing. For example, Paul puts out a regular planning commission report, and I think that's good. There are other assignments, and some of them don't need to be reported on every month, but I think that we need to see more reports. So the question is this the appropriate time to put it on the agenda? Or should we just relegate them all to email?
I think it's worthwhile to have each of those items, each of those committees addressed during this time. So I think, yeah, if we're serving on a committee, we should make sure we are providing updates on what's happening on the committee as part of this.
Okay,
Is that what you're asking? I feel like.
Yeah.
So for example, I think it's definitely appropriate for me, who's on the trash board, the Wasatch Integrated Waste Board, to give updates on what's happening on that board. But I don't think it should be limited to that. I do think there's other items in the city that we each serve on lots of different committees that could also receive updates.
I agree. I feel like this is the only opportunity we get to talk freely about things that are coming up, things that we need to address. You have a habit of limiting us on things that we talk about in the interest of time and following it up with, but I don't have a vote. And this is the only time we get to address specific items that you shut us down on. And you do that regularly. So I feel like this is the only time anybody on the council really gets to say anything they want to say. Any other time, if we weren't on the council, we get 3 full minutes if we want to say something. So
Well-
we're elected on the preface that we discuss things, we talk about things, we go through things, and we vote on things. And we were elected for the way we feel and present things. And you limit that regularly.
I think that it has to be limited by the laws of the land, which says that if it's not an item that is advertised, we are not to have open discussion about it.
Colin, is that,
That is the Open and Public Meetings Act, yes.
and is it relevant to this specific topic of announcements? So if it's a specific if it's announcements that council is announcing, are we supposed to put that on the agenda beforehand now?
You mean
'Cause
specify what you're gonna talk about?
What we're
in
talking
advance?
about?
I don't think it requires that,
Okay,
but you do have to have the agenda item that says you're gonna have the discussions.
I don't really feel that I'm shut down or can't discuss things openly that are on the agenda or things like that. I always feel like I'm able to voice my.
I do wanna make sure this continues on. I do think this is a good thing that we should continue. I'm not sure what the topic of this, the point of this discussion
Well, the
is.
point is what is the purpose and where does the limitations, because it's,
he doesn't want me using it as a soapbox, but keep in mind, I've only got 2 of these meetings left. So it's no longer me that will be suppressed from saying anything, it's the rest of you.
But I think this is appropriate to give kudos to different organizations that have done good things the past little while. I don't see any need to change this as it exists today. And you guys can.
I don't think so either. I don't think that we should be necessarily attacking one another during the open comment section either. We should have a sense of decorum in the meeting.
so the purpose of this would be to call out things that the public should be aware of as far as reporting on an assignment. It should be related to an assignment. And it's not,
Or a city specific item, correct?
no, not necessarily.
So we're not supposed to talk on anything else except our specific assignments. That's it. Nothing else that comes up in the city, anything like that?
We're supposed to talk. Go ahead.
So you're limiting it.
I'm not limiting it. The law limits it. My job is to make sure that we try to stick within the boundaries of the law.
So the law limits what is on the Open and Public Meetings Act that we put on the agenda, which also includes council announcements, right? So council announcements represent what us as a council feel like we are announcing at that time. Or otherwise it would be on the agenda, correct? Like we would have to put on the agenda what we were announcing.
If it's a discussion,
I'm asking him.
Okay, if it's a discussion, I would say yes, it should be on the agenda. If it is an announcement. Pumpkin Walk is coming up soon. Easter egg thing is happening, whatever, we're having a service project, any of those things I think are fair game under announcements. Obviously, committee reports are fair game under committee reports. If it's something other than that, then you ought to think about whether it should be on the agenda as a separate item.
Okay, thank you.
Do we want to have a separate section for committee reports? That could be appropriate.
well, what this has kind of been intended to be. I mean, if you want to rename it, we can rename it.
Well, so I actually think I think mayor council announcements are one thing that represents some of those things, but I think an actual report. I think anyone on one of these committees should give at least an annual report, if not a semi-annual report.
So like announcements / reports.
Well, I think I'm treating the announcements
Separate.
as one thing. I think anyone serving on a committee, like Wasatch Integrated Waste, mosquito abatement, where they're actually members of a board that is governing, that are supposed to be representing the city's interest on that board. I think they should be, they should need to present a report. Again, annually or semi-annually,
I agree with that.
to
So-
give the council an idea of what is going on that board that they are representing this council on.
I agree with that.
So let's go ahead and play that out a little bit.
Okay.
You sit on one of these committees.
Yeah.
And when things come up, should you wait for your next scheduled time or should you just bring things to us for feedback?
I think, I mean, obviously they should come forth. Like, I believe I gave a half-hour presentation on recycling earlier this year.
I agree. And
I
I'm
think that's two
playing
different
that out
things,
to say that when,
But I think that was rightly an agenda item
I agree.
where I discussed what was going on the board and how it affected the city.
Cause I don't think
Totally.
I don't think the presentation you gave would have been necessarily appropriate for an
Totally.
announcement.
Yeah.
But I think every
that-
board, I think everybody representing a board should have to give, maybe not a half-hour presentation, but at least a 5 to 10 minute presentation on here's what's going on the board, here are the new things going on, here are the things that are coming up. I know it's presented in emails, but I think that should also be something that is presented to the public.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think what I'm hearing, tell me if I'm wrong, is an agenda item for committee reports, and you could plug those in and maybe come up with a schedule as to when you're gonna do those. But I agree with the mayor, don't wait for the annual report to say
Yes.
something that's happening now.
Peace.
So an agenda item for committee reports, an agenda item for council announcements.
Agreed.
Other things should be separately listed.
Sure, I agree.
Yeah.
But yes, I do think we on boards could do better at presenting what is happening.
Well, I'm gonna say that there is some variance there because, for example, when I get feedback on the board that I sit on that is just reflective of like EPA feedback. It's kind of boring, so I put it out in an email. Don't think that it's really something that lots of people are gonna talk about, so. But I do think that it's something you all should be aware of because it maybe impacts the potential for rate changes or the potential for management of that facility. But I think that what Paul does is a really good summation of a meeting that we're going to all act on. So I don't know that that needs to be on our scheduled agenda.
I agree. I don't consider that as a board though.
Cause I'm just a liaison.
You're a liaison to a committee.
And that's why
Yeah,
I don't really much, I don't give
Okay.
very many verbal announcements because I've already summarized.
That fits very well in mayor and council announcements for the
Mhm.
committees you serve on. But if you serve on a board that is that the members of the community are, beholden to.
Being
I-
represented.
Like, for example, like mosquito abatement would have a community, or would have an agenda item for the announcements that this is what's going on in Syracuse, this is what happened last year, this is the growth this year.
Agree.
That kind of thing, but it wouldn't be in the announcements, it would be a report.
But like I know, for example, like West Nile virus was found in the community. I mean,
Yeah.
those types of things, we should try and time things in for the committees that would probably be timely.
I like
do
the idea
think-
of the board reports.
Yeah, I think
But then with the announcements, I mean, I think it's awesome to give kudos on things that have happened, whatever during the week or the month or whatever, but. I mean, our announcements, can I get up and give a 5-minute speech on my opinion on XYZ or what? Like, what is the purpose of the announcement?
Does it need to be
Where-
limited to the city business?
Where do we draw the line on what we can kind of?
This and the next agenda item are on this because of what happened last time.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
we should stop dancing around this. The question is, was that broken before? And the answer is, it wasn't broken. Council announcements have been fine. The question is whether a council member can have a voice, and there's a means to do that. They can ask to be put on the agenda. And if they can't, 2 council members can get it on the agenda. There's a mechanism to get this done. I don't know why we're spending 20 minutes dancing around something. Let's just deal with it and get on to the next thing.
well said.
How'd you like to deal with it?
Well, is anything broken?
I don't
from what
think
it is
anything
right now?
broken. I think we move on. And yes, there's a better way to deal with things. And I think we can work with that.
I think the benefit could be, are the 5 of you in agreement on what can be brought forth in announcements and what can't? What are the can you do a 5-minute discussion on immigration that has nothing to do with the city, but is national immigration an issue to you? You wanna do an announcement on it? Can you do that?
No,
during this time?
but I also don't think I should spend 3 minutes telling everybody how horrible Jordan is
Hey,
and why I mean, I need at least 15 minutes for
that's a
that.
hypothetical, right? At least say that's a hypothetical.
You can't do that.
I don't know why, I don't think I should do that during announcements.
Well, I did, I'm not sorry for it, and it is what it is,
Right,
but
no, that's
the rest
fine.
of it
I'm
relies
just
on you
saying-
guys, cause I'm in 2 months left.
I'm
so.
just saying, I think the benefit of the
Said what I had
5
to
of
say.
you is, are you in agreement on what that agenda item is for? I think that.
I feel like if you got anything to say that has about the city on city business or anything within the city and you were elected to council, you say it. That's the point in time of it. We don't get 3 minutes in the beginning or 3 minutes to stand up in front of everybody. That's the only time we get, unless we take to the internet mob and start crying on social media.
So going forward, I don't think there's been an issue up until this last go around with everything that's gone on. Now there's an issue that's been raised. The question in my mind, is there a mechanism to address the things that Council Member Carver wanted to address? I think the answer is yes to that. If it's put on the agenda, there may be a way to do that, and this needs to be limited to what it's been historically. Doesn't that resolve it?
I agree with that. Yep.
Let's get on with the next thing.
Okay, I will move us on. Colin.
Moving along. So I have given you a summary of the provisions of the city ordinances and the provisions of your policy that was adopted when, I do not know, but apparently some years ago. And a couple of provisions from Robert's Rules of Order and a pretty unhelpful quote from the Utah Code. Bottom line is the mayor is in all of those places the presiding officer of the council and has the responsibility to maintain order and decorum in the meeting. Sorry about that. There are a couple of conflicts that you'll see there. There are some things that maybe we ought to tweak. I'm not saying that we should do an entire overhaul. One of them that I pointed out is that under our city code, if there is a disruption of the meeting, and now I get to put my glasses back on, that it takes an affirmative majority vote of the members to fine or expel a member. And in our policy, it says it takes a 2/3 vote. Those ought to be the same. I don't care which way we go, but we ought to either say majority vote or 2/3 vote. And that ought to be cleaned up.
Now, one of the interesting things
I got
here,
permission.
in Utah code, it says 6-member council for municipal, which makes.
We are a 6-member council and
I was gonna
definition.
say that, but you go ahead and say it.
Oh, I thought you were contesting that we're not a 6-member.
No, I was actually
Go ahead.
agreeing with it, but you can
Go ahead.
find it. It's too late now.
Yeah,
We are a 6-member council.
We are
No,
according. to-
One member of which is the mayor.
Okay,
What else was there?
nope, that, I was just gonna make that clarification that in that case, 2/3 is not a majority. In a 6-member council. I
That's
mean,
right.
I'm sorry,
That's correct.
sorry, three, just having 3 is not a majority, so you'd have to clarify that it would have to be 4 of 6.
And that's why I would like to do something
Agreed.
to get the clarification. Is it 3 or is it 4? I don't care which. I just think we need to say it the same and apply it the same after we
Agreed.
say it.
I think the intent was that the 2/3 is, so in.
4 of 6.
It's in that situation where they're actually voting on it. It would be 3 out of the, or 4 out of the 5, or was 3 out of
3 out
5.
of 5 remain.
That's,
And I also think that if you're gonna have that vote based on something that's happening right now or just happened moments ago, it should be limited to the members of the council who are present. I think we should say that. So is it 2/3 of the people who are present? Or is it at least 3 of the people who are present?
And does the person potentially getting ejected get a vote?
I would believe that person should get a vote,
I
but I'm
think
going
it
to
would,
assume the
okay.
vote will usually be a negative vote, although I don't know.
I agree.
yeah,
Cause they're still part of the council, so
Yep.
sure to get a vote.
Yes.
Sure.
So it would be a majority of the people present. We're saying, are we just gonna go 2/3 or just majority? I mean, they should be the same.
I agree, it should be the same, and I don't care which it is. I actually think if you're gonna do something that serious, you probably ought to go 2/3. Which
Okay.
means that you're gonna have to get 4 votes. You're gonna probably have 1 vote against it anyway. So pretty much everybody's gonna have to be there and they're gonna have to vote as a block.
pretty much unanimous, except. for the
Almost
person that
unanimous.
voted it.
Yeah.
You good with that?
Mhm.
Okay.
That would have been okay.
Another one is, can the mayor call a recess? Under the current rules, it says there has to be a motion. Well, our mayor doesn't usually make motions in a 6-member council. So under our current policy, it says a motion shall be made to break for a specific purpose while also stipulating a specific time to reconvene the meeting. So the motion would be, I'd like to move the recess for 10 minutes so that we can all cool down or whatever the situation
Mayor
is.
can call for a motion.
He can call for a motion, but he can't make the motion. And that's in conflict with the mayor's general responsibilities to maintain order.
That is
Order and
in
decorum.
conflict with what Dave Church used to say too, and that is that in the event of breach of decorum, it is the mayor's responsibility to call for a recess until order can be restored.
And so I think if we're gonna go there, which I have no problem with, we ought to clarify that that's gonna be the rule. So that we aren't,
That the mayor is allowed to make a motion in that instance, or that.
or that he
He's
can
allowed
just
to
simply
for
call the recess.
until order can be restored is the going Utah League of Cities standard.
I'd like to have it clarified so that we all are on the same page.
So the question is, can the mayor unilaterally call a recess, or does the council need to vote on it?
That's the question.
That's a good question.
Well, and I think that this only applies in the event,
Yeah,
this only applies in the event of disorder.
Yes.
Or lack of
But,
decorum.
and you also have
Still.
to, the mayor would also have to specify a time limit for the recess.
Yes.
I think any of you could make a motion, we need to take a potty break, let's break for 10 minutes, fine. Second vote, you're good. This would apply in cases of alleged decorum breach.
What if there's disagreement on when they reconvene? So the mayor's to restore order, he declares a recess, will reconvene in 15 minutes. And then someone could, I guess, make a motion to override the time frame. I want to reconvene in 5 minutes, Mayor. I make a motion that we reconvene in 5 minutes, not 15. And then we vote to override that.
So while the
There you go.
mayor,
I don't know.
while the mayor is responsible for keeping the quorum in the meeting, I also think there would have to be, I think there should be some agreement from council that yes, okay, we feel like there's a need for it. So I almost think it would be mayor would call for a motion for it, and then we would have a vote
Respond and
to respond.
Are we allowed to give him the ability to make the motion?
You can.
I'd be okay giving him, so all he needs is a second, but I do think there should be a second.
And then does he vote
I like Paul's version better.
to make the motion?
I don't know. I mean, that still puts it to a vote.
Mm.
I mean, still, yeah, you're putting it to a vote, but
Because all we're doing is saying, rather than he calling for a motion, he calls for the motion, we can then either agree or disagree. It still leaves the
Oh,
power.
we're saying.
Isn't there a
You just said- you
uniform
said something
standard
completely
somewhere
different.
There is.
I know, that's what I'm saying, but I didn't have that yet.
There
His
is
idea
in Robert's
still
rules
goes
pretty
the same
deep.
result.
Does Robert's rules deal with this?
You see in Robert's rules, like I cited this, the quotes on page 2, bottom of that rule 58. In case of fire, riot, or very serious disorder or other great emergency, the chair has the right and the duty to declare the assembly adjourned to some other time. Now the question is,
That's excessive. Me popping off at the mouth was not excessive.
That's the-
I'm not causing a riot.
that's the
No,
question,
nobody's
would
thought
something
that.
like that qualify as
It
a
is.
serious disorder? And that could be debated.
Well, we have an issue here that, hopefully this doesn't happen, but in
I
the
hope it
event of
does.
lack of decorum, it has to be, so we have to bring this back to a respectable meeting.
I think Jordan's idea gives balance. The mayor can make a motion, but it has to be seconded, and then we would all have to vote on that motion.
And would you give the mayor a vote on that motion since he or she makes the
it,
motion?
it very clearly says a 6-member board, six-member council form of municipal government, the chair and the council provides in all meetings. So I think in this instance, in this instance where I would give him a vote,
But then
if I allow him to make
but
the
then it
motion.
allows for a tie, we don't have a tiebreaker. So I would almost think he'd have to still be the tie-breaking vote,
That's
right?
fair.
But pretty common, if a person votes for or against, that person cannot also vote to break the tie. So if you end in a tie, you don't take the recess.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
Or could
Oh,
you
that's-
say it goes in favor of whichever way the mayor voted?
Or not.
Or not.
Or
not.
it's a
I mean, you
tie.
could, is what I'm saying.
Yes, so.
I think in the event of a tie, it means there's obviously enough disagreement here that the
That it would
discussion
not
can continue.
Yeah, the motion would pass.
Are you okay with inserting something like in Robert's Rules of Order in a very, 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 very serious situation? The mayor can just say, it's a turn, we gotta get out of here before the roof falls in.
We should define what that is. I mean, yes, if there's a fire, then yes, he can
When
adjourn.
safety of the,
When the safety of people are involved, yes, he can
Yeah.
declare adjournment. But
When the physical safety.
The roof's falling in, we're just waiting.
I know.
Let us go. I believe it.
Aside from talking about the craziness that could happen, I think that what we do need to do is reestablish an agreement that that order and decorum is our standard and that we all aim to abide by it. Personal rants are not acceptable.
I think that's a hard definition. Cause
Not me.
I mean, like maybe I think we need to do XYZ to park, say, hey, I really think this is, I don't know. Maybe I think Paul needs to do better in maintaining the trees in a park.
Okay, so
And I'm like, I think this needs to be done better.
let's assume for a minute that you get so passionate that you're yelling and screaming at Paul.
So
And I call.
I wasn't
for-
yelling and screaming. I can, but it wasn't.
Excuse me,
Mhm.
you're interrupting.
Mhm.
Now, what I would say is at that point in time, if the chair calls for restoring of order, that you would at least accept the call that you're considered out of order and should consider the way that you continue. Because it is a perception that it is the responsibility of one person. And I think that I'm not saying that that's the problem, but if it reaches the level that the meeting is no longer respectable, then we have to agree that we're gonna take a step back and reassess.
Isn't that what we're talking about now? Making a motion?
This is where I struggle because I don't know, especially where everything I'm seeing today in the press, in the government, I want to be very careful about restricting what people can say as long as they're being respectful. I don't want to be like, sorry, you can't say that.
Okay, so there's a well-publicized incident in the federal government where two congressmen were just screaming at each other at the top of their lungs about who was right and who was wrong. This would be, have you seen it where the chair and Congressman Tlaib were just screaming at each other about terminology? That was useless. And I think that the point is you can have your own opinion. You can say whatever you want to say in a different way. But when you escalate to where you're just yelling at people, then it's no longer respectable for elected officials.
Is it the decibel level that you're worried about?
I think that the overall tone could be measured. Are you being respectful and delivering something or not?
Your current rules under F. Decorum say members of the governing body shall not engage in personal attacks and shall restrict comments to issues before the body.
Okay, so
your current rules have a definition of what's restricted and.
then I'm okay with that. I just don't want it to be like, if I don't like what you're saying, I have the ability to stop you.
No.
Now, if there is a personal attack, then I'm okay if you're like, hey, I'm sorry that this, I'm uncomfortable with it. I think you have the ability at that
And
point.
comments need to be restricted to an issue that the body is dealing with, not between two people.
Yeah, well, and cause I think we have constructive debate or disagreement. Where it's point, counterpoint, sometimes we have to remind each other to, hey, let me finish, you interrupted me, but I still think we do that in a manner that's following these rules.
Announcements should not be a time to spark discussion. Announcements should be you say your thing and it should not be a time to introduce a new topic.
And that is the point of this discussion.
Totally agree with that. But I do think it is a time to bring up things you'd like to talk about in the future.
You can.
I think that's perfectly legit, as long as you're not saying, let's talk about it now. But I wanna be careful. I'm not sure if I like comments to issues before the body today. I think it could also address things that could be before the body in the future.
Yeah, it does.
So we probably need to clarify that.
There's no time stamp
Okay,
on that sentence. It could be in the past, it could be present or the future.
Today
Okay.
is a relative term, I think, to current. In this case, I would deem it that is it currently being addressed by this body.
so I think this should be expanded just a little bit to say comments that have been, are currently, or will be in the future before the body.
Because if we're making announcements, and one of our announcements is, I would like to discuss this at a future council
Right.
meeting, then we can easily get, another agreement for that to have it be put
And I think that's
on the
appropriate.
agenda. I'd still like to have
I
that.
think we need to clarify that verbiage on
Okay.
that.
I've got a note there.
Okay. But beyond that, I think this actually addresses it. I don't think it's a time for me to call something out specifically, especially when it comes to a personal issue. I think those should be reserved for either closed sessions or discussions with the person.
Okay, so
I'll
one
read
other
that.
thing that I was really surprised, I did not do this research, but it mentions in there that the penalties are exclusion or fines. We have no schedule for when you should fine a person for breach of decorum. Is that something that we need to address?
I don't think it's appropriate.
I probably wouldn't find anybody.
I think generally the way legislative bodies deal with this is they do a reprimand. And I think that's probably all I'm willing to do.
So are you, as a whole, are you saying take fines out?
I would
It's in
take
there
fine.
now.
Yeah.
Well,
would
you know,
take-
some
I
of
would
the
take
places
them out.
that it's in there is Roberts. We can't adjust that.
I do not think we should ever be fining each other because a lot of this.
You're limiting their, yeah.
Oh, let me do it. Let me set it. Well, it does currently say a council member
All
may be
right, but we
fined or
will
expelled,
limit it
blah,
up
blah,
to
blah.
$3,000.
No, I'm not trying to set that. What I'm trying to do is bring it forward that
No.
there is a
No.
responsibility here, and if you had, for example, the city of South Salt Lake has actually banished somebody to Zoom. I don't think that's actually right. I think that they probably overstepped. But because they have someone who was consistently issuing outbursts, that's the path they chose, and it was widely discussed at the ULCT spring conference.
But you can have if someone is so disorderly that they're disrupting the meeting, they can be removed.
Yeah, they can.
And
Yeah.
that's isn't that a misdemeanor possibly
It
anyway?
is actually.
If
At that point?
it is disorderly conduct, if you have been told you're to leave the meeting and leave now, and the person continues, that is a Class C misdemeanor.
See,
Then it
that
can
point,
turn
that
into
has its own
trespass.
fine and I don't have to define
Yeah,
it.
I don't
Yeah.
Okay,
we would ever.
And our chief of police hopes never to have to do that.
I agree.
So I think we just address that violations will be dealt with according to the need. And if that need is a Class C misdemeanor, yowza. But that would cover that. I don't think we need to have a fine from the city council for being mean in the meeting.
I don't think it would be
I
for
mean,
mean, it would be.
No, I'm just saying that's not covered by the
It would
misdemeanor.
be for failure to maintain order.
I'm just saying that would seem like that would be the misdemeanor. Sorry.
No, you're fine. So if there's a problem, somebody can make a motion, the motion gets seconded, we vote just like we normally do.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that deals with it.
Yes,
And then if somebody keeps acting up, then I guess you would have the ability to.
to remove them, to ask for them to be removed. And not do it myself,
But would we still have to vote on that?
no,
But for another council member, we would.
Well, he's talking about after you've
after
expelled
you've expelled
the councilman.
person, you don't vote again, you just say, okay. If you refuse to leave, then the chair calls for assistance.
Okay.
Like, I'm sorry, I thought Brett's discussion was, we'd have a motion for a recess and a second and a vote.
Oh, you could do either.
Whatever the action is.
Okay,
Yeah.
Somebody
either.
makes a motion, it gets voted on.
Correct.
Whatever happens.
But to clarify,
Later.
I think the mayor has the authority to remove somebody on the council only after the council has expelled that person. So it's like,
So is there a different rule of order for that one? Both
There
of
is, because if you have a disruption in the audience, the mayor can have them removed without a vote. If there's a disruption on the council would have to agree. And that prevents the mayor from taking privilege of removing somebody for the purpose of changing the dynamic of a vote. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. It should only be in a situation where somebody is refusing to be compliant with the rules of order.
that makes sense. So, because now the mayor can remove like someone in the audience without the vote.
Sure, so we have two votes, we have one to go into a recess, or we have one to remove a member.
Or, yeah, it's not, it doesn't have to be in sequence. It can go right where it needs to go.
And that's also a majority.
Yes,
But if a citizen or audience member is giving
if they refuse to be orderly, they can be
they're not
removed.
following the rules, they won't sit down
Without
after
a
3
vote.
minutes. you've
The
given
mayor
them
can
a chance.
unilaterally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which has only happened once while I've been mayor, but it was appropriate. The individual refused to
Yeah.
finish.
just so I'm clear, on your motion to take a recess, do you want a majority vote of those present or a 2/3 vote?
whatever the standard vote is that we would normally do.
I would say that would be a majority for that
And
one.
let's
Do
go with
you
the-
want to up the ante to remove a member of
No.
the council or leave it at a majority?
Do it the way we normally do
I
it.
think majority.
Okay.
Let's hope that we don't have to face this ever again, honestly. Okay, at this point, I'm going to adjourn us from this meeting. And I will call to order a business meeting. The Syracuse special business meeting only for the consideration that we can go into closed session to discuss a legal matter. Can I get a motion to go into
Real
closed
estate.
real estate matter?
So moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.